The Living Daylights is a 1987 spy film and the 15th entry in the James Bond series produced by Eon Productions and the first of two to star Timothy Dalton as the fictional MI6 agent, James Bond. Directed by John Glen, the film's title is taken from Ian Fleming's short story, The Living Daylights, the plot of which also forms the basis of the first act of the film. It was the last film to use the title of Ian Fleming's story until the 2006 installment, Casino Royale. It is also the first film to have Caroline Bliss as Miss Moneypenny, replacing Lois Maxwell. The film was produced by Albert R. Broccoli, his stepson Michael G. Wilson, and co-produced by his daughter Barbara Broccoli. The Living Daylights grossed $191.2 million worldwide and received mixed reviews from critics. The cast includes Timothy Dalton as James Bond 007, an MI6 agent assigned to look into the deaths of several KGB defectors and conspiracies against several of his allies. Marianne Diabo as Cara Milivoy, Kosovo's girlfriend and later Bond's love interest. Joe Don Baker as Brad Whitaker, an American arms dealer and self-styled general who serves as Kosovo's primary ally. Baker called his character a nut who thought he was Napoleon. Art Malak as Kamran Shah, a leader in the Afghan Mujahideen. John Rhys Davies as General Leonid Pushkin, the new head of the KGB, replacing General Gogol. Jeroen Krabbe as General Georgy Kosov, a renegade Soviet general who attempts to manipulate the British government into assassinating his rival, General Pushkin. Andreas Vazensky as Nekros, Kosovo's henchman who poses repeated threats to Bond. Desmond Llewellyn as Q, MI6's quartermaster who supplies Bond with multi-purpose vehicles and gadgets useful in the latter's mission. Originally, the film was proposed to be a prequel in the series, an idea that eventually resurfaced with the reboot of the series in 2006's Casino Royale. SMERSH, the fictionalized Soviet counterintelligence agency that featured in Fleming's Casino Royale and several other early Bond novels, was an acronym for Smert Shopnam, Death to Spies. In autumn of 1985, following the financial and critical disappointment of A View to a Kill, work began on scripts for the next Bond film, with the intention that Roger Moore would not reprise the role of Bond. Moore, who by the time of the release of Living Daylights would have been 59 years old, chose to retire from the role after 12 years and 7 films. Albert Broccoli, however, claimed that he let Moore go for the role. During an extensive search for the new actor to play Bond, a number of actors including New Zealander Sam Neill, Irish-born Pierce Brosnan and Welsh-born stage actor Timothy Dalton auditioned for the role in 1986. Bond co-producer Michael G. Wilson and director John Glen were impressed with Sam Neill and very much wanted to use him. However, Albert Broccoli was not sold on the actor. In 2022, Neill stated that he never wanted the role. Meanwhile, Jerry Whitrup, the chairman of MGU UA Communications, suggested hiring Mel Gibson for a 2-picture deal valued at $10 million, but Broccoli was also not interested. The producers eventually offered the role to Brosnan for a 3-day screen test. At the time, he was contracted to television series Remington Steele, which had been cancelled by NBC Network due to falling ratings. The announcement that he would be chosen to play James Bond caused a surge in interest in the series, which led to NBC exercising, less than 3 days prior to expiry, a 60-day option in Brosnan's contract to make a further season of Remington Steele. NBC's action caused drastic repercussions, and as a result of which Broccoli withdrew the offer given to Brosnan, citing that he did not want the character associated with a contemporary television series. This led to a drop in interest in Remington Steele, and only 5 new episodes were filmed before the series was finally cancelled. Dana Broccoli suggested Timothy Dalton. Albert Broccoli was initially reluctant, given Dalton's public lack of interest in the role, but at his wife's urging agreed to meet the actor. However, Dalton would soon begin filming Brenda Starr, and so would be unavailable. In the intervening period, having completed Brenda Starr, Dalton was offered the role once again, which he then accepted. For a period, the filmmakers had Dalton, but he had not signed a contract. A casting director persuaded Robert Bathurst, an English actor who had become known for his roles in Joking Apart, Cold Feet, and Downton Abbey, to audition for Bond. Bathurst believes that this was a ludicrous audition and was only an arm-twisting exercise because the producers wanted to persuade Dalton to take the role by telling him they were auditioning other actors. Dalton agreed to the film while travelling between airports. Now, Dalton's take on the character is very different from that of Moore, regarded as more in line of Ian Fleming's character, a reluctant hero who's often more uncomfortable in his job. Dalton wished to create a Bond different from Moore's, feeling he would have declined the project if he was asked to imitate Moore in any way. In contrast to Moore's more jocular approach, Dalton found his creative muse from the original books. "I definitely wanted to recapture the essence and flavour of the books and play it less flippantly," he said. After all, Bond's essential quality is that he's a man who lives on the edge. He could get killed at any moment, and that stress and danger factor is reflected in the way he lives: chain-smoking, drinking, fast cars, and fast women. Moore declined to watch The Living Daylights in cinema, as he did not wish to demonstrate any negative opinions from the project. Broccoli enjoyed the change of tone, feeling that Brosnan would have been too similar to Moore. Sam Neill thought Dalton performed the well role, and Brosnan called Dalton a good choice in 1987, but felt it too near to the bone to watch the finished film. He would win the role, of course, in 1994, based on the film he auditioned for in 1986. Sean Connery endorsed Dalton in an interview with the Daily Mail, and Desmond Llewellyn enjoyed working with the fellow stage actor. The English actress Mariam Diabo, a former model, was cast as Czechoslovak cellist Kara Milivoy. In 1984, Diabo had attended auditions for the role of Paula Ivanova in View to a Kill. The film also reunites Bond with the car maker Aston Martin. Following Bond's use of the Aston Martin DBS on Her Majesty's Secret Service, the filmmakers then turned to a brand new Lotus Esprit in 1977's The Spy Who Loved Me. Aston Martin then returned with their Aston Martin V8. The Living Daylights was the final Bond film to be scored by composer John Barry. The soundtrack is notable for its introduction of sequenced electronic rhythm tracks overdubbed with an orchestra, at the time a relatively new innovation. The title song of the film was Living Daylights was co-written with Paul Vodka of Norwegian pop music group Aha and recorded by the band. The group and Barry did not collaborate well, resulting in two versions of the theme song. Barry's final mix is heard on the soundtrack, while the version preferred by the band can be heard on Aha album Stay on These Roads, released in 1988. The title song is one of the few 007 title songs not to be performed written by a British or American performer. In a departure from previous Bond films, The Living Daylights was the first to use different songs over the opening and end credits. The song heard over the end credits is called If There Was a Man, which was one of two songs performed for the film by Pretenders, with Chrissie Hynde on lead vocals. The Pretenders were originally considered to perform the title song. However, the producers had been pleased with the commercial success of Duran Duran's A View to a Kill and felt Aha would be more likely to make an impact on the charts. Now, for me, Timothy Dalton delivers a refreshing take on the James Bond character, bringing a more serious and gritty interpretation to the character, which I thoroughly enjoyed. He successfully, for me, portrays Bond as a determined and skilled agent, while also adding a layer of vulnerability and depth. Dalton's portrayal brings a level of realism to the character that is so missed, and his chemistry here with Marianne Diabo's Kara is believable and engaging. Diabo also gives a strong performance here as Kara, bringing a mix of innocence and strength to her character. She holds onto her own in the action sequences and provides a compelling emotional connection to Bond. I also like Jerome Krabe as General Koskov. He delivers a convincing performance as a deceitful defector, while Joe Don Baker stands out as the memorable, eccentric arms dealer Brad Whitaker. The film touches upon the themes of Cold War politics, betrayal, and the consequences of changing world order. It explores the shifting dynamics between the East and the West, as well as the moral ambiguity of espionage. The film also delves into personal conflicts faced by Bond as he grapples with his duty as a spy and his desire for a genuine human connection. For me, this was a refreshing take on the James Bond character and is what the series needed, after the previous 7 films being, well, rather downright silly at times. Timothy Dalton brought a more intense side to the James Bond character, and even though he wasn't everybody's favourite, I particularly liked his take on Bond. His performance brings depth and authenticity to the character. And for me, the film successfully combines thrilling action sequences with its engaging storyline. While it may not be as flashy or over the top as previous James Bond films, The Living Daylights offers a compelling and enjoyable spy adventure. And it's much more in line with the tone of how I'd like to see James Bond represented. The Living Daylights gets an 8 out of 10.